After my killing stalking video, I got numerous requests to talk about banana fish, but lo and behold, I was already wanting to talk about banana fish anyway, so we all benefit in this situation. I'll put all the trigger warnings for this series and what I'll be talking about here, so here they are. Proceed with caution. Banana Fish is currently one of my favorite animes right now, and with a name as unsuspecting as Banana Fish, I truly wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. The studio who released this anime, Noitamina, have released some of what I think are the best anime in the past decade or so. One of their main titles was Terror in Resonance, which was a hauntingly beautiful anime that I encourage everyone to watch. I also encourage everyone to watch Sarazanmai, which is such a wacky but heartfelt anime. It's really great. Banana Fish is genuinely very interesting in the sense that it doesn't take place in Japan, but in America. Which I know isn't something new, but it was fascinating to see how people outside of America also see America. I only say this because I'm also not American myself, and with the amount of American media we're forced to consume, it's just great seeing other shows show what their idea of America is that isn't from an American's eye. It's similar to the way Americans show other countries like Australia or Mexico in their films. It's just kind of like a back at ya kind of feeling. In fact, the Japanese main character even says it's just like CSI New York when he lands in America, which I found very funny personally, but I've been told I'm a boring person, so you know, it's whatever. Anyway, while Banana Fish does show America from an outsider's eye, that's not the main point of interest for me. What interests me the most is whether or not this anime is a BL. BL being boys love for those who don't know. Before going any further, because I know I will get comments on this, I need to actually clarify what BL is. Straight up, BL is not yaoi. A lot of people have this misconception that every BL must be yaoi, but while all yaoi is BL, not all BL is yaoi. The main difference between them is yaoi includes graphic, sexual scenes and is much more fetishized, let's say. BL, however, is simply love stories between a male protagonist and his male love interest. For example, Yuri on Ice is not a yaoi, that's a BL. And I don't know why Google says what it does, but for some reason it says Free is a yaoi too, so don't believe it. I need you all to know this, so when I say BL anytime in this video, I am not referring to yaoi or the genre of yaoi and what it entails, but the genre of BL. Okay? Okay. Now let's get on with it. The topic of Banana Fish being a BL is actually a very heavily debated one, mainly because one side is adamant on it being a BL and the other side is adamant on it not being a BL. Then there's just the crazed yaoi fans who will consume anything with two guys kissing, so we'll push those ones down for now. The main reason for this debate is due to the general story of Banana Fish, which means, like every other video, I will now proceed to give a rundown of what Banana Fish is about. Everyone sit back and get comfy. Banana Fish is about Ash Lynx, who's a 17-year-old gang leader living in New York freaking City, baby! He's apparently meant to be a very beautiful blonde boy.
We're just blonde boys doing what blonde boys do.
But sadly that beauty led him to living a life of hell. When he was a child, his father didn't care for him, leading him to get sexually assaulted multiple times, and then was sold off to a creepy old mafia leader to become his sex slave while he was still a child. The mafia leader, known as Papa Dino, favored Ash greatly and had an assassin teach him everything he knows to survive on the streets. Because of this, he's a sharpshooter, every other character claiming he never misses a shot, and he's incredibly intelligent. It's for these reasons he's a gang leader and he lives his life to take down Dino. Meanwhile, a 19-year-old ex-pole vaulter from Japan named Eiji Okamura has just landed in New York with his senior, who's a journalist, and follows him to the bar Ash runs. Eiji asks if he can hold Ash's gun since he's never seen a real one before, to which Ash finds amusing and decides to humor him. And after he gives it back, people are in shock because apparently Ash doesn't let anyone touch his gun without chopping their fingers off. Both Ash and Eiji end up developing a heavy fondness for each other. Ash eventually vowing he'll never let anything happen to Eiji, and proves multiple times that he'd die for Eiji on the spot with no hesitation. Why Ash and Eiji develop these feelings for each other is a whole other discussion, so I won't get into that, but just know their feelings are very pure for one another. While a lot of shit happens to both Ash and Eiji, the main problem in all of this is a drug that turns people both murderous and suicidal when taking it. I don't want to say any more than that because it's a lot of spoilers and I really want people to watch this anime. It includes some fantastic characters such as my boy Shota Wong, who's the lead leader of Chinatown's mafia, and the King Blood Kane. I am not joking when I say Blood Kane is the best character in this series. I fucking love this man to bits. I may be met with some disagreement because this is more a personal opinion, but while watching Banana Fish, it gave me some slight Quentin Tarantino vibes, possibly because of the music or just the use of violence, but I don't know, I just thought I'd share that. As we can see from this analysis, Banana Fish does in fact contain two male characters who love each other. It also includes a kissing scene between them that's not really a kissing scene, but either way this must mean it's a BL, right? Well, on a surface level, sort of. For this, we need to take a deeper look into BL as a genre. BL is actually surprisingly hard to pin down. Obviously, the key convention is that the two characters in love must be men, but all other conventions are kind of everywhere. It's actually difficult to find a BL that isn't a yaoi because when you look it up, all it gives you is freaking yaois! From what I can find, when looking into popular BL such as Dokyose and Given, BL seems to share a similarity in focusing on high school students. But at the same time, Yuri on Ice is also a BL and obviously doesn't include high school students. I was also going to mention the anime Owari no Seraph or The End of Seraph, but this one also seems to be really heavily debated on whether or not it's a BL, which is something I didn't realize, so holy shit, I'll have to go down that rabbit hole another time. We'll ignore that one for now and look at these three instead. So, looking at these three popular BLs side by side, the main conventions I can see is that they all include romantic themes. I guess in a sense BL is practically shoujo, but instead of a boy and girl romance, it includes a boy and boy romance. So if we look at all this and look back at Banana Fish, it's kind of includes that. Banana Fish has some romance in it, and the scenes that are love focused are filled with love, but it's not really a romance. It's more like an action crime noir anime infused with some romance, but to call it a romance outright is, I think, a flat out lie. I ended up looking into the relationship of Ash and Eiji by looking through interviews of the author, Akemi Yoshida, and it didn't really help. Yoshida insists on being as ambiguous as possible in her interviews. One interview she says it wasn't intended to be a sexual romance between the two of them. Then in another interview she says the two of them were in a mock love affair. She's very clearly encouraging interpretation and doesn't want to pin them down, possibly out of fear of her readers' reactions to it, or maybe because she enjoys the speculation and theories, but we'll never really know. Here's the kicker though. Banana Fish was published in a shoujo manga magazine. Remember how I said BL just feels like shoujo but with a gay couple instead of a het couple? To many that would mean check and mate. But unfortunately, it's not that simple. While Banana Fish was published in a shoujo manga magazine, there was a real issue with women being able to only write shoujo back in the day. In fact, that's still an issue now, and it's why so many female shonen writers use male pen names to publish their work. So even if Yoshida insisted it wasn't a shoujo, which it clearly isn't, it would have been published in a shoujo magazine either way. But Yoshida does say if she had her way, she would have made Banana Fish a shonen or a seinen, which is manga aimed towards young men. BL is a genre made for women by women, so the fact Yoshida says it's a shonen must debunk it being a BL. Again, it is not that simple. I love this woman, she's a queen, but god is she sending me on a wild goose chase with this. I'm sure many are asking this exact question. But if it was a BL, wouldn't it just be published under the genre of BL? And that is where you are wrong, my dear viewer, because BL wasn't an official genre in manga until 1990. And the Banana Fish manga came out in, drumroll please, 1985. So there was no label for Banana Fish to come out under if Yoshida intended for it to be a BL. And Yoshida says if she had her way, she'd either make it a shonen, a seinen, or a modern day BL, because back in the day, BL used to mostly involve sex until those specific stories got their own category of yaoi later down the line. What does this mean for Banana Fish as a genre? It means not even Yoshida seems to know who the originally intended audience for this manga slash anime was. Because while she said she would have made it a shonen, she prefers writing shoujo, and Banana Fish got mixed up in all of that along the way. The funny thing is, Banana Fish actually acted as a major influence for future works of BL, and helped create the genre of BL. Even if Yoshida didn't intend for Banana Fish to be a BL, she accidentally just helped create a whole genre for it, which I think is hilarious in itself. So, ultimately, what genre is Banana Fish? Is it a BL? Is it a shoujo or is it a shonen? Unfortunately, as anticlimactic as this answer is, it really comes down to each individual viewer. Some may view it as a shoujo, some may view it as a shonen, and some may view it as a BL. I can't say I can completely debunk that it isn't a BL, but I do have a problem with it being called a BL, and here's why. With Yoshida being forced to write a shoujo that was originally intended to be a shonen, she discovered the freedom shoujo gives. She said men are boring to write for because what they want is obvious, but for women, you don't know what they want, and that's what makes it fun. So through all this, she ended up creating a genre hybridity of shonen, shoujo, and BL all mixed up together. But the reason I don't like it being called a BL is because I don't like the term in general. I don't like the fact that a romance between two men can't just be a shoujo or a shonen with romantic themes, but instead needs its own category just because it's not a male and a female couple. It is absolutely a term of fetishization for gay relationships. And I'm not saying if you read it you're a bad person, but I just wish anime like Given, Yuri on Ice, and Dokyosei didn't need to be placed under a category that fetishizes them when they're ultimately just love stories. That's what Banana Fish is to me. It's simply a love story overshadowed with crime. And to my audience, if this video only confused you, I can guarantee you'll like Banana Fish even if you don't like BL. And if you don't like crime anime but like BL, you will also like this anime. Like I said, it is up to the viewer to decide what genre they think this is, because you will get a different answer from different people for it. The only way to decide for yourself is if you watch it. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry this didn't come to a satisfying conclusion, but I do think the author intended to leave this series open for as much interpretation as possible. Please do watch Banana Fish. I can't say where to legally watch it because I absolutely don't illegally download all my anime. It doesn't seem to be on Crunchyroll, so just, seek it out yourself, you idiot. You won't. As always, if you have any opinions of your own, leave them in the comments because I would love to read them. See you in whatever I make next.